Well, what is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. Thank you so much for joining me today. On the table is a personal favorite. I'm sharing this with you guys. Again, I'm going to do a basic review here, but I want to talk about it a little bit. This has been a personal favorite for 3 years. It is my eternal go-to camping and outdoors knife. And I have plenty of other options, right? I mean, you guys know I have a fairly extensive knife collection, right? I could carry all sorts of things. And I do. I mean, I usually take more than one knife with me when I go camping or when I go traveling. But the one knife that is always in my bag and has been since the day I got it is the AD10. Now, this is a first gen. It's hollow ground. The new ones are flat ground. And the reason this has come back to my mind is because Cold Steel has decided to release a Tanto version of this. And in fact, there's a really good first look at it over on the Jimmy Slash channel. I will post a link to that in this video. Given that I have a stack of knives, just knives everywhere of all shapes and sizes, right? Weird knives, smaller knives, cheap knives, expensive knives, right? The list is endless. I could carry anything. And I do take some of these with me when I go camping and outdoors and hiking and stuff. But again, the one knife that is always with me is the AD10. Why? Well, it is, for my hand, one of the most comfortable knives ever made. The design is thoughtful and tough and yet smooth and easy to carry and hold. The Demco design is just about perfect as far as I'm concerned. The materials for what you pay. Now, when this came out, it was about 150, 160 bucks. I have seen these for as low as $10 or $11 on Amazon. You're not going to get this much knife for that much money. You're just not. So, do I want one of the new Tantos? Yeah, I do. I want to try it out, but it won't replace this. The draw point blade shape on the AD10 is perfect, particularly in the hollow ground, because I use this thing as an everything knife when I'm camping and outdoor stuff. It does kitchen duty. It does woodworking duty. It does opening and packaging, closing duty. It does emergency duty. I have a go bag that's got some clothes and some other stuff, and this lives in that because I know that today, tomorrow, 5 years from now, however far down the road it is, if I need a knife, this is there. And I have to tell you, their S35VN absolutely holds a wicked edge. Now, this has been sharpened a couple of times because I use it quite a bit, but not nearly as often as you might imagine. I could carry this, right? I easily, and I do, this is one of the other ones I bring with me a lot. The Crewwear Adamus, or Adamus, if we're going to be technical, is similar in size, similar in dimensions, but for starters, Crewwear is not rust and stain resistant like S35VN, which means that this knife can't just live in your backpack. It requires a little more care. Second, the AD10's grip is considerably more comfortable than the Adamus. I'm not saying it's tougher. I'm just saying that for my hand, it's a lot more comfortable. And so if I'm going to cook breakfast and then lunch and then use this thing to make feather sticks and carry it around all day, the AD10 has just won out time and time again. Speaking of Benchmades, I could easily carry the full-size Crooked River, right? A little more traditional in appearance. S30V, durable materials, good access lock, but we all know that even though it's never happened to me, and I want to be clear on that, at times you can lose an Omega spring, then the access lock isn't nearly as reliable. Also, even though this is flat at this end, there's more belly on the AD10, which makes it better for working on a cutting board. This is a great choice, but it isn't going to replace the AD10. I could carry something expensive. I could carry my SMF here, right? This is a fantastic and very tough knife, right? Titanium lock bar, titanium on the lock side, aluminum. It's relatively light for its size. It's got a great blade shape, but it's not as tough. It just isn't as tough in many ways as this AD10. And these are $800, and this is $110, $112. Even if you pay full price at $180, you're still absolutely winning. This is another interesting choice. This is the Hogue X5, and I really like this knife. It's a little more tactical looking. You get a little more cutting edge. Tip is a little pokier. I have used this outdoors. It is very good in those circumstances, but it's not nearly as comfortable in hand as the AD10. At least for me. You may like this better. A lot of people do. This is a great knife. But this is what I'm getting at. Time and time again, I bring a knife in. Now look, in my daily carry, I rotate, just all over the map. I carry all of these. But for that one knife that I know I can rely on every single time, that I can take out when it's raining or snowing, or go to the beach or go to the wherever, and it's going to get mucky and gummy and gunky from food and from processing game or whatever I'm doing, that I know I can drop right back in the bag and not worry about it the next time, it is still the AD10. So let's get some basic specs out of the way, although at this point I'm sure most of you know very well. But let's go ahead and do it again just for fun. You get 3.5 inches of cutting on 3.5, if we measure to here, 3.5 inches of S35 VN, and it is a lovely slice of it, right? Nice and thick. Although it does have a beautiful swedge across the top, right? But it's nice and thick and robust out towards the tip. It is G10 over steel, right? Sorry about that. Someone came to the door. It is G10 over, I said steel a second ago, it's aluminum, which helps with the weight. It has the phenomenal triad lock, which, look, there are tough locks out there, but this thing really is about as tough as you get. The Demco design is, the custom version of this, of course, is fantastic, but for the money, this is phenomenal. So my point is this. If you've been thinking about getting one of these, and now the Tanto version is coming out and it's caught your attention again, but you haven't spent the money yet, get one. I love the AD15. I love the new AD20 and the AD20.5. I don't love the AD20.5. It's too small for me, but I love his designs. But again, for the money, this is damn close to one of his customs. And I can tell you after years of using it that this will absolutely survive and will help you survive if you need it to, right? It's got what I assume is probably a Grivex backspacer. It's got a big spot for a lanyard if you do that sort of thing. The knife itself is 8 3/4 inches long. The grip area from behind that swell, 1, 2, 3 3/4, which is why it fits my hand like it was made for it. It does have a nice choil at the front here that you can use for choking up. You want to be careful because the edge is right there, but my big old hands can do it. And if you add that choil to this knife, you get 1, 2, 3, 4 3/4 inches of space, right? This is a great knife. It really is. Now, the one that you get if you buy a new one, as I said, will be flat ground instead of hollow ground, which means it won't be quite the slicing tool that this one is. But I've used those. I have a friend that's got one, and it's very good just the same. The thumb studs are the Demco design thumb studs, these sort of pyramid-shaped studs, and they are wonderful. They work every single time. They get in the cutting path a little bit, but nothing too bad, right? Now, I've replaced the clip on this one with a deep carry clip from Pop's Custom Clips over on Etsy. You don't have to do that. I'm not a huge fan of the stock clips. I thought this would be a good choice, and it is, although it does make it, you can feel it a little more than the stock clip. If you've got, I mean, what, anything, you know, if you've got yourself one of the Presidio 2s, or you've got yourself one of the X5s like this, or any number of other knives, I'm not saying that you aren't going to be totally well served. You will. But I just thought it was worth coming back and taking a few minutes and really looking at the AD10 again before the Tanto version drops. Tanto is an interesting blade shape. You know, notoriously tough, right? But I'm not sure it's going to be quite as useful as an all-arounder knife than the traditional drop point here. But that's a choice you'll have to make. My suggestion, again, is while these are still reasonably inexpensive on places like Amazon, is to grab one up, because you will not be disappointed. Look, if you're not an outdoors person, if you never do anything outdoors, then this may not be the knife for you. But for me, and I think for a lot of people, this is a completely reliable and exceptionally nice piece of kit. You can get the Ultimate Hunter, which is only $100. It's just not nearly as tough, but it does offer many of the same features. Knives are a unique thing. They are art and they are function, and they can be both, and some of them truly are. But then you get to a level of knife that are designed just to sort of be tough survival, you know, tools. And then little things start to matter. How comfortable it is in your hand, how well it cuts, you know, how it locks up, what the locking mechanisms are. Any of these three knives, for instance, would probably serve you or me for as long as we needed them outdoors in any sort of setting or circumstance, in truth. And any of these is good, but this one is $250. This one is $250. This is less than $200, even at full price. So value matters. Now, I know from watching various videos that you can hammer this crewware through a brick and it won't roll and chip. That's important, but I'm not really doing that when I'm outdoors. I'm not hammering my knife through bricks. This is a phenomenal knife, the X5. I really like this knife. But again, because of the shape of the handle, which is not uncomfortable, but I will tell you that after many hours of use, even just cutting up boxes, you really start to notice the various sharp edges on this. And because it's a button lock, the few times that I have used this for gooey or wet work, it really gets in the way. A hefty frame lock, oh, I don't know, like the Kaiser Cane here, is a good choice. But again, this is a tough lock. This is an excellent pocket knife. I mean, it's hollow ground. That's actually a pretty good comparison. Both are hollow ground. Both are S35VN. I have used both outdoors pretty extensively. But in the end, the one that I always pack ends up being the AD10. Let's do size comparison. I mean, you've seen it up against a bunch of stuff now, right? But let's go ahead and do it just for fun. Here it is against the Bug Out, right? I mean, the AD10 is a large knife. Here it is against, again, the Adamas. Similar in size. These are really, really similar knives when it comes to sort of in the pocket and overall functionality. Personally, I prefer the S35 on the AD10 because I can field sharpen it if I have to. I like a plain blade. It is rust and stain resistant. Anyway, you get it. I mean, I could carry this if I really wanted to, but this is not quite as useful a design as the AD10, and again, considerably more expensive. I guess that's where I'm going to wrap it up. There is a new Tanto AD10 coming out, and I'd very much like to get my hands on one, and maybe I will. I'll borrow one. But I'm not going to replace this one with it. If you've been thinking about the AD10, I would go ahead and get one now, because whenever they drop new knives, the prices tend to get a little wonky with cold steel. In the end, this has been and will continue to be the knife that goes with me everywhere I go. Even with all of the other choices I have, the AD10 is always somewhere handy and nearby, and I think that says everything we need to. The AD10 is one of the best knives to come out in the last 4 or 5 years, full stop. I think the new Tanto will be very cool, and I think that if you've been debating and you have use for one, again, this is not your typical pocket knife. If you have a reason, you're an outdoors person, you hike, you backpack, you camp, you whatever you do outdoors, hunt, pick yourself up an AD10. You will not be disappointed. Thank you so much for watching. I very much appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time.